So, guys, I'm gonna share some of my coping techniques, or one of them particularly, with you today as I'm going through this dark time. Um, so, I don't know if everyone feels comfortable doing this kind of stuff. When I was in therapy, they talked a lot about, journaling, which, every time I did that, it just turned into me throwing myself a pity party. So, I've always wanted to write. I've dabbled in it. I went to school to be a writer. I've always said I was going to write a book, and everyone who knows me has always pushed me to do that. So, a few months ago, I actually started doing that. I actually started my Instagram page because I was planning on finishing this book up over the summer and then trying to self-publish it because God knows no one's going to actually pick this thing up. So I started writing, and I've got about 8,000 words in, shooting for 80,000. So we're not there yet. But it helped me so much as I did this. And whether it's journaling or writing a story or just, writing about anything you're feeling that day, and sharing, or here's a good one: write letters to send to people, anything like that. But the writing has been really a good way to chew up time, and also it's been a good way to get some of my feelings out. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to read my first two chapters to you guys today. Now, half of you just shut the video off. Probably nobody wants to hear this stuff, but I'm proud of it. I've enjoyed writing it. It's sad. I hadn't written the ending yet. I feel like I kind of know where it's going now, which not really where I wanted it to go, but I feel like that's where it's going to go. So let me start. And it is loosely based on the things I've gone through. Okay. You know, I changed names of characters. I did stuff like that. And of course, I dramatized it. But the main stuff is this is the kind of things I'm going through. Okay. So it all came from a prompt. I was doing some writing things, and a prompt came up about conveying feeling through through an item, which is really tough to do. Like, pick a random item, I used a lamp, and trying to build a scene around it that can convey an emotion. And so the first chapter is about that. The second chapters are always, the even number chapters in this book are always flashbacks and kind of tell, that's the really dramatized part of the story. So anyway, enough intro. Let me read this first chapter to you, okay? I'm going to look up here because it's on my screen, so apologies. It says, after a day of working around the house, I decided I had earned a trip to the liquor store. The people that worked there knew me better than my own family, and they actually smiled when I entered the room, and that was enough. I pulled into the driveway, shutting off the headlights and trying to get my mind ready for what I might be walking into. Who knew what kind of situation awaited me as I walked up the sidewalk and fumbled with my keys in the dark, cursing myself for not replacing the bulb from outside our house lights. They had quit working months after we purchased the house a few years back. Happier times. Walking into the dark, empty room, I reached for the switch to turn on the lamp by the door. I navigated to the side table by the light of a blinking clock, signaling the time of 11:41 in a pale green glow. Bumping against unopened mail, a bottle of Febreze, and orphaned keys, I finally felt the cold plastic and turned it. The light of the rapidly fading bulb blinked at a frenetic pace, guaranteed to inspire epilepsy or at least a quick "goddamn" statement, as I was momentarily blinded by the accidental strobe. I thought back to when the wife and I bought that lamp early in our marriage. What was it, almost 2 decades ago? It was part of an entire living room set, most of which has long since been abandoned to a local landfill. This was the one surviving piece, hanging on for dear life. The bulb has been replaced multiple times, and this blinking is now a feature, not a bug. I heard a quiet, "How was your walk?" call out from the bedroom. Fine. I turned the light back on, hoping not to disturb her sleep. I stared at the ceiling fan slowly rotating, doing more to break up the shadows from my phone screen's light than to cool down the humidity of a spring Florida evening. "How was your day?" I called back to the disembodied voice residing in the bedroom. Fine. "This light looks like it might be on the way out," I said, reaching for anything to break the silence that was inhabiting this house. "I can try fixing it tomorrow." I remember how excited she had been to get that living room furniture years ago. Signing that paperwork seemed like a first step to bills and regret, and we couldn't have been happier to begin the journey. "It's not a problem," she apathetically responded. "We can just get a new one from Target this weekend." I walked past my son's room, lit by the glow of his neon LEDs, reflecting from his computer, wishing I could have had the energy of an 18-year-old again. Apparently, it was another marathon gaming session filled with cursing and cheering discordantly. When I got to the fridge, I noticed the light, and it had burned out as well. I figured that I'd just feel around for the first thing I could find and make do with whatever I pulled out. Cold leftovers from a couple of nights prior when we had a quiet family dinner together was the first thing I pulled out. The flavors of the chicken had faded and tasted like the smell of the refrigerator. Hanging on until it's rotten instead of throwing it out seemed like a much better idea, I suppose. Picking at the leftovers, I prayed I could choke down enough so that I would have something on my stomach to quell the whiskey I had just finished drinking. Yeah, like I was really going on a walk. Finishing the plate, I tossed the remainder of the meal into the almost overflowing trash can. I guess I can take that out when I throw out the lamp tomorrow. I'm scared that if I take it out now, I'll make a trip back to the car to finish that whiskey bottle under my seat, which will guarantee a sleepless night of vomit and tears and a morning of silence from everyone else. Curling up on the couch underneath the fan seemed like the move, since it was the only cool place in the house where I felt like I could get any rest that didn't include sweating. I heard my wife lightly call out, "Are you coming to bed?" speaking less to interest and more for information. "I will, but I'm going to lay here and cool off before I hit the showers," I echoed back, matching her lack of energy, having no intention of getting up until she was well on her way to whatever she had planned for tomorrow. "Fine." She said it without a hint of anger or longing, and a few seconds later I heard the light snoring that signaled she was back to sleep. I got up, walked to my son's bathroom to wash the whiskey smell off before I crawled onto my couch cocoon. I went to turn off the light and it blinked. I went to turn on the light and it blinked like the lights you see in a cheap motel room in the movies. I took my shower in the dying light of the room, cleaning off the day's disappointments until the light finally died, leaving me standing in a dark, lukewarm shower. Maybe I will go finish that whiskey off under the stars and the full moon. At least I know they'll keep shining throughout the night. I think. Walking back out the front door, I re-entered the humid Florida evening and made my way to the car in the dark. Climbing behind the wheel, I reached under the seat for a fifth of Jameson. I flipped on the radio and took the first sip while the dashboard lights blinked weakly in front of me. The opening bass line from Wrathchild crept through the speakers. I watched the lights flicker. Then they didn't. Okay, so chapter 2. The stage lights were blinding. I stepped to the front and started the set with a steady rhythmic pounding on my bass. The opening notes of Wood by Alice in Chains rattled through my chest as I hammered out the opening phrase. As I looked out at the Friday night bar crowd, I spotted her right away. 5'2", brunette, standing just off the center stage, watching me intently. I held her gaze a second too long, causing me to almost miss my cue. Our singer came charging out and nearly plowed into me as I scrambled back towards the drummer. "What the... Sorry, dude." He hit center stage and grabbed the mic, launching into the opening lyrics like nothing had happened. We weren't at the point where people came for our originals yet, but we could nail a cover. By the time we hit Pearl Jam's Even Flow, the room had loosened up, drinks in the air, people shouting lyrics that they only half knew. I found her again in the crowd, still watching. We closed with I Nearly Lost You by Screaming Trees, the last notes hanging in the air for what felt like forever. Backstage, I dropped the bass onto its stand and wiped the sweat from my scalp, tossing the towel into the corner before heading straight to the bar. She was there, talking to some guy. I walked up like I belonged there. "So, did you like the show?" "It was fine." My mouth almost hit the floor. "Just fine?" She glanced around the room, turning her glass in her hands. "Fine's what I said." "Get your dumpy ass back up here on stage." I turned. The encore. I grabbed the bass and jogged back up, irritation buzzing under my skin. We ran through the last two songs quickly, and I looked out into the crowd. She was heading for the door with him. Right before she stepped out, she glanced back at the stage and caught my eye. She gave me a quick smile and a small wave. Then she was gone, and the lights went out. So those are my first two chapters. My book is called, let me remember and read it right. It's called Fine is Just Another Four-Letter Word. If you didn't notice in those two chapters, the word fine was used a lot. That's a common thing around my actual house. My wife loves to say fine, and every time she says it, it's not fine. So that's what kind of inspired this. So there you go. That's kind of a look at what I've been doing to kind of get through this time. Now, writing a book is not something many people would probably want to do, but journaling, just taking a time, writing a page about things you're going through will help you kind of expel some of those emotions. Making these videos has done that for me, and I think this is a good thing for us to do, for everyone to do, but definitely if you struggle with mental problems, you can get down and get those feelings out so that they don't explode on the people around you. That's something that I learned way too late. And it's costing me big time. Let me tell you, costing me in ways I don't even know how to explain in a video. So anyway, kept this one as short as I could. It looks like we're going to come in right under 10 minutes. I hope you guys liked this. I don't want to sound like a typical YouTube person because I'm not. I have like 70 followers. But if you like this and you want to read more or hear more, tell me that. It'll give me some inspiration to keep writing because kind of hit a wall right now. So anyway, thank you for your time. You guys are amazing. And please, please, please keep watching these. I know I post them a lot, but it really helps me a lot. Thank you guys.